Welcome to the Watching Books podcast, where we discuss books that have been adapted to both stage and screen. I'm Victoria.
Laura, here.
How are you, Mom?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm figuring out my back issues, so that's good.
Well, good. I know that we all have a very busy week this week, and I'm looking forward that we are coming to see you guys this week. And we're so excited to get to see our wonderful grandchildren.
Yes, we are so excited to see you guys again, especially so soon. It's under stressful circumstances. Our youngest son is having surgery, and it's a pretty intense surgery. And so you guys are coming to be with my other kids. And I'm so glad and grateful that I don't have to worry about them while I'm there with him as he's going through that.
Yeah, we're glad that we're going to be there, and it's going to be good. It's going to be okay.
I was putting Alice to bed tonight, and I wanted to get down here. I didn't want it to be forever before I was able to record with you. She got home with Ray, and it was way after her bedtime, but she was wired, and I told her, "I have to record tonight. You have to go to bed." And she said, "Oh, okay, mommy." So we got ready for bed. I put her in bed. I sang her a song, tucked her in, gave her a hug, gave her a kiss, made sure she had water, and she was still so wired. So finally I went, "Alice, how high can you count?" And she's laughing. She said, "I don't know." I said, "Okay, let's count together." So we counted and we counted all the way to 20. And I said, "Okay, you just keep counting to 20. Do it over and over and over again." And she said, "Okay." So I'm leaving the room and I'm shutting the door and I just hear her, 8, 9, 10. And she hasn't gotten up once. So I consider that a miracle.
That's fantastic. And she gets to work on her counting skills.
Exactly. It's perfect. Are you reading anything new?
I am not. I open a book each month for my birthday, and I didn't even read last month's. I didn't have time. I've opened up this month's, and
Oh.
I am really excited about it. It's Maggie Smith's autobiography.
Dame Maggie. Well, that'll be great.
I love her, and it is including Harry Potter stuff in it. So it's not like she wrote it when she was young or had just gotten her Oscar. So I'm really looking forward to that book. Super excited. Uh, I am working on a book for one of our upcoming episodes. And other than that, I just haven't had a whole lot of time. How about you?
Reading, what's that? I'm I am trying to think if I've opened anything new. I'm also working on a book for a future episode, and other than for work, I have not read anything lately, either for work or for my son's schooling. Otherwise, it's all going to podcast, his school, or my work. Hasn't been anything really just for me in a while, which is a little sad, but I'm putting my time toward things that really matter to me, so it's also okay. I'm okay with the trade-off right now.
To say I don't normally reread books. There are very, very few that I reread. There are too many books out there that I want to be able to read. But with this podcast, I guess Meet Me in St. Louis is the only book I'd never read. And so to be rereading books is cutting into my stash of books that I would be devouring. And well, not that I can devour anything right now. It's just been too busy. But I am looking forward to getting back into some more reading books that I've never read before, along with future books for the episode, especially those that I've never read. Really looking forward to some of those.
Looking forward to that as well, and hopefully for more time to just really get into it, really enjoy it, and I would love to bring in reading for my own pleasure again as well, but we'll see. I had never read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, I had never read Carrie, and I had never read Meet Me in St. Louis, so I think I've been introduced to more literature than you have with this project so far, but don't worry, I'll get you back.
Awesome. Yes, it shocked me that you hadn't read Sleepy Hollow.
Right. Well, today we are not reading anything new, or I should say, we're not watching anything new. From last episode, I'm still drinking my Squished Witch wine from the Oz Winery in Wamego, Kansas, which is all Oz for anyone who didn't catch last week's episode. And I'm drinking it out of my mug from the Oz Museum in Wamego, Kansas. And it says, "Don't make me break out my flying monkeys." So if you want to hear more about Wamego, Kansas and how much fun it is because it's so Oz related, check out our last episode. But with that, Mom, what book are we watching in what capacity this week?
Well, we are watching again The Wizard of Oz. However, this time we are going to be looking at The Wiz.
If you've never read The Wizard of Oz, the book, and you're curious about how different it may be from the movie, or if you've never seen the original movie, etc., check out our last episode because that's the one where we cover the book, The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. And then we also covered the original 1930 something movie starring Judy Garland. And we also covered the stage versions of that musical as well. So now we are moving into The Wiz. And this whole episode is dedicated to The Wiz. One, because, well, it's just worth it. We love it. It's so much fun to talk about. And I do think there's enough material here for us to cover an entire episode on just this version of The Wizard of Oz. I will let Mom give a description of what The Wiz was originally when it went to Broadway, because it started as a musical, but it's also been a movie, it's been a television production, and it's been revived on Broadway as well. So with that, Mom, take it away.
I am so excited to talk about this. So it it did go to Broadway first. So what happened was they hired Jeffrey Holder to direct it, to choreograph it, and to star as the wizard. And you will know Jeffrey Holder from the 1982 movie Annie. He played the character Punjab. He's also in Live and Let Die, the James Bond film with Roger Moore, and the beautiful Jane Seymour, and he is a crazy, like, witch doctor. But he was known for his dancing before he ever came to Hollywood. Where was he from? Trinidad? I think he may have been from Trinidad and Victoria. Do you know who discovered him?
Can I have a little bit of a hint?
Big time old school choreographer.
This old-time choreographer. I'm trying to think of the timing. I would know? I know this person?
I would think you know the name. I would think you know her name.
Nope.
Okay, Agnes DeMille.
I have no idea who that is. Was she related to Cecil B. DeMille?
That's a very good question. I just figured you would have heard of her. She was a very famous choreographer. Anyway, so Agnes DeMille discovered him and brought him to New York. And he was a very excellent dancer, a wonderful choreographer. They wanted to make an all black cast of The Wizard of Oz. Jeffrey Holder said, well, if it's going to be all black, it needs to be called The Wiz. So The Wiz it was. And as he is beginning the process of directing and everything, Stephanie Mills was hired as Dorothy, and they were very excited to have her. She was excited to be on Broadway. She originated the role of Dorothy in The Wiz, and things happened. They didn't like the way things were going, and so they relieved Jeffrey Holder of his position, and they hired someone else, and so he walked away. He's like, "Okay, that's fine." Before a show goes to Broadway, there are previews, and I had the honor of getting to be a part of a preview audience when I got to see Dolly, the musical. Look for it on Broadway. I don't know when it's going to get there, but if it is any indication about how they had to keep adding shows because it was so big, I think it's going to do very well on Broadway. And it's about Dolly Parton, of course. But anyway, the previews for The Wiz flopped. They were bomb.
Why?
It just wasn't going well. The whole schematic, I think, the storyline was odd. It was different, and it just wasn't going well. So they go back to Jeffrey Holder. "Would you come and direct and choreograph for us again?" And he said, "I would love to." How
Oh,
humble is
wow.
that?
Yeah, I
How
was thinking like
kind.
humility.
Right. He could have said no,
Mhm.
but he didn't. And so he got it on Broadway and won 2 Tonys.
Yeah. It's man, I'm so excited to be talking about this. Thank you for sharing that
Mhm.
background on it, and I just realized that this would be a really good place to say to anyone who's never listened to us before, just know we spoil everything. Consider this your blanket spoiler alert for anything regarding The Wizard of Oz and The Wiz. Just be aware too that we're just big fans of books, movies, and musicals slash stage productions of any sort. So we're not talking as major deep divers. That's actually a lot more exposition than we normally get on this podcast that mom just provided. But we are just big fans. So don't look for this to be a huge deep dive into the whole history of musicals and books and movies. But this is just a couple of fans talking about things that we're passionate about and what we've bonded over since I was born, basically. So that is really interesting. So he ended up coming back to not to star this time. I didn't hear you say star in, but he did
No.
direct and choreograph it.
Mhm. He did, and he won the Tony for Best Director and for Best Choreographer that year.
Now, that's what we call a comeback.
That's right. That's why I wanted to share this history because it was a big deal, I think. 1, an all-black cast for The Wizard of Oz, and 2, how the directors flip-flopped like that. I thought that was a really neat story, and that's why I wanted to share it.
I love
So,
that. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. So they had Stephanie Mills as Dorothy, you already
Yes.
mentioned. She is, just mind-bogglingly talented. It's
Mhm.
disgusting how talented she is and was as Dorothy. I can't imagine having to sing the songs that that character has to sing 8 shows a week.
Oh, I know. 8 shows a week, that's the thing. And do you wanna talk about how The Wiz is different from the book and even
Mhm,
the movie, The Wizard of Oz?
mhm. Yes, I do. So, The Wiz is different not just in name or in the fact that it's an all-black cast version of The Wizard of Oz. The heart and storyline remain true to the original Wizard of Oz. The book, I should emphasize. It's definitely more related to the book than to the movie. They were not trying to do a copy of the movie. They wanted to make an all black version of the book in musical form. And I appreciate that. So, with that, what we see that is so different from any other version of this story that you'll see is they really lean into Black culture. With that, we get the music that comes with that. So, we get gospel tones, we get funk, we get jazz, and we get Motown. It's incredible, and then in more recent versions and revivals of the show, there's been even a little bit more of R&B and hip hop, that's been brought into the soundtrack as well, and I think it fits easily into the musical. So we have still the same characters. We have Dorothy Gale, we have Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, and we still have the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. The only thing that's different about the wizard is that he's called the Wiz. And then we've got 3 of the 4 witches, which it correlates to the original book. In the movie and in versions like Wicked, which we have not talked about yet, we only see 2 witches, typically. And The Wiz has the good witches of the North and the South, and then we have the Wicked Witch of the West. We also have the Wicked Witch of the East, but of course, when the story starts, she's dead because Dorothy's house lands on her in a tornado, just like in the book. But these witches have names. We have Ada Pearl, and she is the Good Witch of the North. And she gets this whole great song. She's the one who introduces Dorothy to the world of Oz and explains things to her and makes sure she gets the shoes. which are silver, like in the
Yes,
book.
they
They are
are.
not ruby red. They are silver, like the book. Um, then there's Eveline, and Eveline is the Wicked Witch of the West. So
Yes.
Eveline is the Wicked Witch of the West. So she's who we know. She is our beloved Elphaba, aka the Green Lady in The Wizard of Oz. She is not green in this version. And then
Mm-mm.
there's Evamine. Evamine is the Wicked Witch of the East who gets the house slammed down on her, the sister of Eveline. And then there is Glinda. Glinda is Glinda. Glinda, however, is the Good Witch of the South, like in the book. She's
The
not the Good Witch
book.
of the North, like in the 1930s movie. So, in some ways, this is more true to the book. And then we also have Toto. So that's it for characters. We still get to see lands like Munchkin Land, but we also get to see things from the original book that we don't see in the original movie, like the Kaladas and some of the creatures that our beloved characters come across on their journey to the Emerald City. So they do go down the yellow brick road, but instead of singing "Follow the yellow brick road," they sing ease on down the road." Oh, it is a little bit better, in my opinion.
It is
Um,
so catchy and fabulous, and you walk out of that theater singing that song.
mhm. It's been stuck in my head all day because I was listening to the new revival. The music is so good, so good. Uh, Another similarity that this has to the book is that the characters are main four, so that would be Dorothy, Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion, and Toto, who cares? All want the same things that they want in the book. The Scarecrow wants a brain, the Tin Woodman wants a heart, the Cowardly Lion wants courage, and Dorothy wants home. But she doesn't want to just go home in this version. She wants to be home where she feels like home. And there is a difference. So, what we see with our Judy Garland Dorothy from the 1930s movie is she wants to go home. She wants to be back in Kansas. She wants to get out of Oz. She wants to go back to Ann M. This Dorothy has more of a backstory than we ever get from the book. This Dorothy is an orphan who has been sent to live with her aunt and uncle. Sure, we can assume that about the story just looking at the circumstances, but it's never explicitly stated. And we actually have a whole song and interaction in the beginning of the story between Ann M and Dorothy, where Ann M is just trying to let her know how much she loves her and how she recognizes that things are hard for her, but that she will have a home with her if she wants it. And Dorothy just can't hear that right now. Not at the beginning. She accepts the love from her aunt. She loves her aunt, but she is not home. So when she goes to Oz, she's still in search of home, but she doesn't see that as Kansas. She thinks of it as the life she had with her parents back in Omaha. So I think that's more touching. It really made me care even more for Dorothy. Dorothy's always a sympathetic character, but I cared even more about her. Just having those little details fleshed out a little bit more.
Right, I agree. It made the character of Dorothy more real, and because in the movie, the 1939 movie, even the book, you don't understand, where are Dorothy's parents? Why
Mhm.
is she living with an aunt and uncle? And it's never explained. And so I really like that The Wiz took this, added that little bit of backstory, and it just gave so much more depth to the role of Dorothy and to her aunt, who has a gorgeous, gorgeous song that she
Mhm.
sings,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
very well done.
Mhm. I agree. So we get just a little bit more heart to the story, I feel like, by those simple details. It doesn't take much to make a good story better. And in the world of Oz, every character gets an amazing song. So the Scarecrow has a song, the Tin Man has a couple of songs, really good songs. The Cowardly Lion has a couple of really good songs, and it's all about what their desire is, of course. That's what you would expect from this type of musical. Just like in the movie, the original movie, it's all about what they want. If I only had a heart, if I only had a brain, if I only had courage. By the time we got to the end of the story, one of the first things that stood out to me was, oh my goodness, these characters really did have those traits all along. It's not something I ever caught in all the dozens of times I watched the 1939 film. But in watching The Wiz, it was so obvious to me that every character had those traits already. And then Dorothy just highlights that for them at the end. And by the end of it, she discovers what home is. Oh my gosh, it ends in one of the best songs in Broadway history. And it ends with her recognizing that home is the place where she feels love, where she recognizes what devotion and commitment look like, and where she feels cared for. She recognizes that that's back home with her and him. Ugh, it touches my heart. It's very heartfelt. I'm a big fan. So, can you talk about differences that we see with our villain?
So, Eveline, the people who are living in her land, they're her slaves. So, she has these slaves. We see a lot more evil in this show than in the 39 movie. We saw more evil in the book with how the Tin Man came to be. We see that more when she captures
Mm.
Dorothy and her friends because we see her tear apart the Scarecrow. We see her about to cut apart the Tin Man. There was a lot more evil stuff going on in this film to me, or in this show. What about you?
I would agree. And I think she's a very memorable villain, as she is in any version of this story. So even though we don't get our classic, what we've come to get to be used to, the green Wicked Witch of the West, she's still very memorable. She has a great song, and she's just a terrifying villain.
She is. There's something just more evil seeming about her than even the Wicked Witch. Now, in the film, she doesn't sing. The witch never sings, but we do see her sing in The Wiz.
So just to give credit to our original Broadway cast, like we already said, Dorothy Gale was played by Stephanie Mills. The Scarecrow was Hinton Battle. The Tin Man was played by Tiger Haynes. The Lion was Ted Ross, who carried that character on through, he played him for years, including into the 1978 movie, which we'll talk about. Glinda was Dee Dee Bridgewater. Ann M was Tasha Thomas. Eveline was Mabel King. The Witch was
Oh.
Andre DeShields, and Ada Pearl was Clarence Taylor. I'm excited by Andre DeShields because he won a Tony fairly recently, a few years ago, for his original role as Hermes in Hadestown. Incredible. So that was the original Broadway cast. Are you ready to talk about the 78 movie?
I am ready. In 1978, they decided to bring The Wiz to the big screen, and Stephanie Mills was cast as Dorothy.
She was?
Oh, see? Oh, she was. But we don't see Stephanie Mills as Dorothy. Guess who they put in as Dorothy? So apparently Diana Ross really wanted to play Dorothy, and she knew people, and she was big, and she was in her 30s. And so they were like, "Yeah, no, you wouldn't be right for Dorothy."
Yeah, go with your gut.
But somebody knew somebody, and they're like, "Okay, we'll put her in as Dorothy." Now I gotta say, I love Diana Ross.
Oh, we love Diana. There is no hate toward Diana.
Love her. I was 7 when this came out in the theater. I went to see it in the theater. Not only did I love Diana, I loved Michael Jackson too. He was the Scarecrow. I didn't even own a Michael Jackson record at the time, but I did own Diana Ross. I mean, the Supremes, I had her solo album. I had the records. I loved Diana. And I remember seeing it in the theater, and it absolutely terrified me. I didn't like any of it. I didn't like the scene where these garbage cans come to life and they start chasing them around this empty mall. The columns start coming alive and coming after them. It was the most terrifying movie for a 7-year-old. I
Uh,
didn't like it at all.
oh, hold on just a second. Did you say garbage cans and columns? Where on earth was this set?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. They set this in New York City. because we all know Dorothy's from New York. And what's a tornado? New York doesn't know what tornadoes are. So instead of a
Oh,
tornado, they just had like a wind with the vortex or something.
okay, I thought it was kind of like a blizzard tornado.
Was it a snowstorm?
There was a lot of snow. There was a lot of swirly snow.
So they had a blizzard because it is New York. N- And so yes, that was
Ugh.
very odd. The beginning of the movie is so bizarre to me. We
I
see
agree.
Dorothy.
I don't get it.
It looks like she's at Thanksgiving dinner with her family, and
Yeah.
everybody seems to be pretty happy, but Dorothy is just seems so down in the dumps,
Mhm.
and no one speaks. No one says a word.
There's no
And you're
explanation
just
why
like,
she's so sad. I mean, I guess
"What's
there
going
kind of
on?"
is, but it doesn't make any sense.
No, it was really bizarre, and she was always chasing Toto. That's how she got outside. Here comes this big blizzard. "Toto, Toto!" He goes outside. She goes outside running after the dog and gets swept away in the blizzard.
Yeah. And we get this really intimate song between Ann M and Dorothy, where Ann M is singing to Dorothy in the beginning, and she's played by the incredible Teresa Merritt. But it doesn't make any sense for her to be singing this song because she's literally standing at the head of a giant table singing straight to Dorothy, but the whole table is filled with all their other family members who are just
It
silent and staring at her around this table. This it's so odd to me. From the very beginning, I'm going to say this movie starts off with a kind of unsettled, very weird theme, and it just sort of leans into that so that you're watching the whole movie constantly feeling unsettled and uncomfortable at what you're looking at.
I didn't care for it at all. You had never seen it, and we needed to watch it for this episode. I dreaded
Yeah.
it. I dreaded watching it. I didn't wanna see it again. I hadn't seen it since 1978, but I remembered the scary stuff that I did not like, and so we watched it.
Yep,
They
we did.
had Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, these amazing singers. Michael Jackson, not only could he sing, he could dance. And they have them going up the yellow brick road, and we're watching their backs from a distance. We see nothing of their talent, not even the singing. Diana, she nailed home, of course, at the very end of the whole movie. But there was nothing that just made you go, "Wow, what a great movie." And it was a box office disappointment as well. It flopped. It didn't do well.
Was thinking the same thing. I'm like, you have Michael Jackson and Diana Ross in a scene together, and we are watching them from a football field away with their backs toward us the entire time, dancing up the yellow brick road, and we don't get to enjoy that? Like, what is going on? There's
The
so much wasted talent in the movie. So much wasted
The
talent.
direction was very odd. Richard Pryor plays the Wiz, and
Yes.
this comedic talent, and even he was just, "Meh."
Not his fault, I don't think. I don't think it was any of the performers' fault.
Think
I
the
put this solely on
direction
direction. It was not the right director for this movie.
No, it just didn't work. It did not work, and it was so disappointing. I'm sure my dad was disappointed because anytime anything went from Broadway or from a play or musical and it ended up on film, we saw it, whether we should have or not. And The Wiz was one that we saw, and it was not that great. I was very disappointed.
Yeah, and I hate to do this, but I do wanna give credit that Sidney Lumet was the director. And I know he was a successful director for other films. A lot of his choices didn't make sense. I don't get it. He just wasn't the right director for this project. And so many of the directing choices didn't make sense. And I think with a different director, we would have seen a better product. I really
Yeah.
hate saying that. I don't like to criticize because directing a movie and directing a movie with that kind of talent in it is not something I would ever sign up for or be well equipped to do. So I don't like criticizing people for that. But yeah, this wasn't it.
But we're here to talk about what works and what doesn't work. And
Yep.
when they got to Oz, the 4 friends get to Oz,
You mean New
it
York City?
was yes, New Year's it was so bizarre. They had everybody in a certain color, and this one song went on and on and on and on. And I think that's what we talked about with most of the songs. They were never ending. They just went
Every
on.
song.
Was so stinking long, and you
Mhm.
got bored. It became very boring. But these dancers, they were very it was very psychedelic, and they would
Mhm.
change colors, and it was just really weird.
You're talking about the Emerald City scene.
Yes.
Yeah, that
What did
was
I
a
say?
weird scene. You said
Yes.
Oz, so I didn't know which part of Oz. But yeah,
Oh,
that was weird. That was a weird scene, and it did go on forever and ever and ever and ever.
it was really bizarre.
And you think
So
the
I don't
song is finally about to end, and then they all change colors and they sing the song all over again, and then you think the song is gonna end, and then they change colors again, and then they sing the song over again, and they just kept doing that, and you're stuck in this hell of changing colors and people singing this song that you don't care about. Yeah, no, that was awful.
it was very painful. I don't ever have to see that movie again, ever.
I just wanna give credit to Mabel King, who did the best she could with Eveline, sang her amazing song that once again they made last forever. It had no business lasting that long because it is such a good song if you have it at the appropriate length. But they made that poor woman stand in that. Hold on, I need to look up how much her dress weighed, her costume. Have you heard about this, Mom?
No.
Okay, the costume in the movie is insane. So she was the original Eveline on Broadway as well. And then she played Eveline in the movie, just like Ted Ross from the Broadway show played the lion in the movie. And he was incredible. I did really love his performance in the movie. Okay, the exact weight of her costume is not known, but it's been reported a lot that her costume in this movie, bless her heart, was ridiculously heavy because it was multi-layered and it was made of actually heavy materials like steel and chain. And she had to wear this and walk around and do all kinds of stuff in this stupid heavy costume. Hats off to her because I wouldn't wanna do that. I wouldn't wanna do it, and it was so different from her Broadway costume. I just don't know what the decision making was behind these changes, but I bless her soul. I don't know how she did it, but she did. She pulled it off, and she played that character with all the vim and vigor that she had on stage.
Mhm.
You hated this movie,
Yes.
and you were dreading watching the live version, but
Yes.
you did it for the podcast.
Only for the podcast.
And how was that experience?
I loved it. It was so good, and it was so moving, and it I have had such a new appreciation for The Wiz and what it was supposed to be. Not that crazy psychedelic movie that we had in 1978, but a wonderful, brilliant musical. I can see why it won Tonys, and I was thrilled with getting to see it live, and I was thrilled with the amazing cast.
Yes. I was looking forward to this. I did not enjoy the movie like you. We watched it together and then we watched the live versions. For anyone who may not know what we're talking about or may be confused what we mean by the live version is that this was a television experience that NBC hosted that was called The Wiz Live, where they brought on real performers to come on and do a television performance of the entire Wiz musical, but it was performed live on set. We got to tune in and watch it happen right there, and they did this with several musicals. They did it with I can't remember what the first one was, but I know they did it with
The
Grease.
Sound of Music. The
That's
Sound
right.
of Music was the very first one.
And they did it with Grease, and they did it with Hairspray, and I just wanted that to keep going on forever and ever and ever. I wish they had kept doing that. But I think there have been other things, like, I know they've done, like, a Little Mermaid live and a Beauty and the Beast live, but I wanna see other musicals done like this. Wow, talk about a completely different experience. Totally different. Um, the cast once again was we had a return. We had Stephanie Mills, the original Dorothy from The Wiz on Broadway. She returned as Aunt Em. And
I love moments like that.
I do too. I love it when we're able to see cameos that are special like that.
Oh, definitely, and since she might have been glad that she wasn't in the movie after, what we saw, so I think this was a wonderful comeback for her to be another part in The Wiz.
Yes. And we have the amazing Shanice Williams. She was introduced in this performance to the world of fame, basically, and she was incredible. And we start this movie, and I'm a
As
little
Dorothy.
skeptical because I had just seen the 78 film, and you and I start this live version, and from the very beginning, we get Ann M's song with Dorothy. We get Dorothy's little backstory explaining what she's doing in Kansas, and we so from the very beginning of this version, it's a totally different feeling. We get Dorothy's backstory. We get interactions between her and Ann M. We understand that she's very unhappy and grieving. And then we get Ann M's song, sung by Stephanie Mills. The last thing I was expecting from this show was to be crying after the first song. And I was.
Oh, I was too. No other Wizard of Oz has ever made me cry. Are you kidding me? But this one, gosh, it just got you in the feels big time.
Yes. So already the tone is set, and I'm like, well, okay, this is going to be a very different experience. Dorothy gets blasted off to Oz in a tornado because she actually lives in Kansas, not New York. And she and Toto are off, to the land of Oz. They land on Evamine, the Wicked Witch of the East, and she meets the Munchkins, who provided so much joy. I loved their version of Munchkin Land. It was very different from the movie, which were, I think, like, what, graffiti people that came off the wall and, like, glowed in the dark? Am I
Yes.
remembering that right
Oh,
from the movie?
so weird. So weird.
But in this version, they were like munchkins from the land of Oz, like in the book. There you go. Straightforward. And they were fun and they were cute and they were funny. And we get Pearl, and it's our girl, Amber Riley.
Gosh, she's so talented. Amber Riley, you slayed Ada Pearl. She was
Ugh.
so incredible. I loved seeing her on stage.
Yes, we love Amber Riley. If you don't know that name, go watch Glee. That's all I have to say. We followed the story of The Wizard of Oz, and it makes more sense. It just makes more sense than watching us try to cram this story into a weird version of New York. It doesn't fit in New York. It doesn't make sense in New York. It needs to be the land of Oz. So Dorothy comes across the Scarecrow, who is played by Elijah Kelly. Again, we love him. So far, we're batting 1,000. This is
So
so
Elijah
great.
Kelly, for those who don't know, he is in Hairspray, the movie, as what's his name?
Seaweed.
Seaweed. He's so good. We love him.
We love him. And he was an amazing Scarecrow. And I really hate to say it because we had Michael Jackson in the movie who should have nailed it and probably had all the talent to. But honestly, it just falls flat due to everything else going on with the movie. But Elijah Kelly played this role as it should be played.
The movie had really bizarre crows too, if you remember. They were really weird. And one of my notes I wrote down was in this live version, I said the crows look so much better.
Oh, yeah. Their costuming was great. Yes. I loved their costumes. The ones in the movie. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it. They're just odd. Like, I think I just wanna tell our listeners to just Google them. Just Google them. Just look it up.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it, but it's kind of nightmare fuel too. A lot of the costumes in the 78 movie were nightmare fuel.
The movie was a nightmare.
So then we move on. We ease on down the road and we come across the
Mhm.
Tin Man. And this was fun because he was played by Neo. And this was not usually Neo's wheelhouse, but I have to say, I was really impressed with his Tin Man. He did an amazing job.
Incredible. He did an incredible job. The entire cast was wonderful. So I was very
So
impressed with
great.
him. Of course, everyone knows he could sing and dance, so he nailed it. It was very, very good.
Hmm. Yes. And then we come along to the Cowardly Lion, David Allen Greer. I didn't know he could sing. Did you know he could sing, Mom?
No.
Wild. I had no idea. And he was great as the lion. I would say I hate measuring talent, but I would say like performance-wise, he was on par with Ted Ross, and that's a huge compliment. It's a huge compliment. It just goes to show you and I didn't look up anything about this version because we didn't know the whole cast. And so every time we came across a new cast member, we were just squealing. We were so excited because we're like, we love them so much. And then we get to The Wiz. First of all, the Emerald City song, way more tolerable. Not just tolerable, it was enjoyable. I actually enjoyed the Emerald City song. It was short, it was sweet. We got to see Common for like 2 seconds. Great. And then we moved on. We meet the Wiz. Just like in the book, the Wiz appears as a giant mechanical head like we see in in The Wizard of Oz, like we see in Wicked. Big mechanical head. It's scary. Ooh. Then we actually meet the wizard, and it's Queen Latifah.
I didn't know what I would think when I saw that it was going to be Queen Latifah. She was so good. She was surprisingly good. Not that she was surprisingly good. She's a wonderful actress. I love watching her. But she was very, very good as the Wiz. I thoroughly enjoyed her performance. It was just wonderful. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, we can usually count on Queen Latifah to be great, but it does make you go, is this a role that can be gender bent, as we say in theater? Can we gender bend this character? After her performance, I'd say, yeah, we can. She nailed it. Her costuming was great. I loved it. And when we got to the big reveal that she's a total fraud, she's in her pajamas, she's got her hair up, she's just chilling out. It was great. Her costuming throughout the whole thing was wonderful. I loved her final costume. It was great. She sang amazingly, of course. And she and Elijah Kelly were reunited because they were both in Hairspray together.
Mhm. I do think it's funny when they go to see The Wiz, all the four friends, and she wants to send them off to go kill the Wicked Witch, Eveline, in this. And the three friends don't want to go with Dorothy. They're scared. And so that was a change that, yeah, I think I'm okay. I don't want to go. I don't want to go kill Eveline. But they do. They do go to see Eveline, and Eveline is played by Mary J. Blige.
Yes. And this is going to be a hot take. She was amazing. I loved her. I loved her costume. I loved her singing. Great singing. Look. This cast is so incredible that she was great, but hers was the weakest performance, I would say. And I think it's just mainly based on acting because otherwise she nailed it.
Everyone else is an actor.
Hmm.
And well, Neo may not be. He's not an actor, and she's a singer. But I do think all in all, overall, it was a very, very, very good cast. And
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I loved the winged monkeys. Let's see, they called them the Winged Warriors, and they were like Cirque du Soleil. They were on stilts and acrobats and stuff. It was really, really, really cool to see the Winged Warriors out
As
there. They were
compared to
very cool.
the movie where they were like really scary looking bikers.
Yeah.
And we didn't give Lena Horne her flowers, and she deserves them. We get to meet Glinda, the Good Witch of the South, but she only comes in at the very, very end. She comes in, sings a great song, and she's gone. In the live version, we have Uzo Aduba, and I love her. She nailed it. Of course she did. She's great. Big Broadway talent. But in the movie, the 1978 movie, we got the legendary Lena Horne, who broke down barriers in her career as a Black actress through the early 1930s, 40s, making herself a name in Hollywood, which was nearly impossible for Black actors to do. She was cast as um, Glinda in the 1978 movie. I've never heard her sing like that before. I was soaking in every minute of it. That was probably my favorite part of the movie, just because I love Lena Horne. But we won't talk about the random children dangling on ropes behind her in the sky. I guess they were stars. I don't know. I don't understand it.
Lena Horne was the best thing about The Wiz, the movie.
Man. Yeah, I have to agree. And like that shouldn't be the case. Okay. So when it comes to the very end and how they defeat Eveline, Mom, do you remember in the movie what happens when they actually defeat her? So they defeat her with water like they do in the book, but do you remember do you remember what happens to her?
No.
She falls into her throne, which is actually an enormous toilet, and the lid shuts on her.
So weird. It's just weird.
Thankfully, Mary J. Blige just melted. Thank you. Thanks. We just need her to melt. That's all we need.
That is the truth. And of course, when she does, then we see that the slaves are freed. They are no longer under her power. They are
Yes.
freed. And now they're all wearing yellow. And that's what the Winkies were
Mhm.
supposed to wear. In the book, Winkies wore yellow. And then when they're freed, boom, we see them in yellow. The Wiz has a song at the end. Y'all got it.
Yeah, and I think it's all about the qualities that they're looking for they had all along, and that's what the Wiz is pointing out.
Absolutely. This version, Dorothy was from Omaha. That is where she lost her parents. She's now in Kansas with her aunt and uncle. So after the Wiz has finished singing Y'all Got It, she realizes that she's ready to go home, but that her home is not in Omaha. It is in Kansas with her aunt and aunt. It is a beautiful, beautiful ending to this wonderful musical. I really enjoyed it.
Mhm. It was a major breath of fresh air. I'm so glad we watched it after the 1978 movie. I was smiling throughout the whole thing. I cried probably at least 3 different times. It was really good. Really, really, really it was solid. And it makes me like, if I ever see an opportunity to go see The Wiz, I will take it.
I will. I will totally go.
Yeah. I'm really grateful that they made that live version available for people to see it who might not have access to Broadway so easily. There was a 1923 Broadway revival of this show. There have been a couple of revivals.
You said 1923.
Uh, I meant 2023. Sorry.
I was going, wait a minute. What?
I got so used to saying 1978. So there was a revival of The Wiz on Broadway in 1984. So it started in 1975, and 9 years later, it was revived. And it was starring as Dorothy, Stephanie Mills again.
And Jeffrey Holder had a part of that as well, the revival.
And then for who did?
I believe Jeffrey Holder had a part of that revival.
Very cool. That's so cool. And then there was a third revival on Broadway in 2024. Wow. They went on tour in 2023, but then the revival to Broadway was in 2024. And this was a whole new cast starring Nichelle Lewis as Dorothy, Avery Wilson as the Scarecrow, Philip Johnson Richardson as the Tin Man, Kyle Raymer Freeman as the Lion, Deborah Cox as Glinda. Oh, she was amazing. Melody Betts as Ann M and Eveline. She was both. And Wayne Brady as the Wiz and Allison K. Daniel as Ada Pearl. So it actually looks like Wayne Brady and Alan Mingo Jr. shared the role of the Wiz, both on the tour and on the Broadway revival. They swapped places. I didn't even realize until today before we recorded that there was a revival last year. So, of course, I listened to the recording. Whoa, those people can sing. They sang. They sang their hearts out, and I was just dancing around the house to it. I was loving listening to the revival.
You were easing on down the road.
Yeah, I was.
So my recommendation is if anyone has the opportunity to see The Wiz in a theater somewhere, please do go see it. You will not regret it. It is very, very good.
Yep, and I will be right there along with you going to go see it because I would love to see this live on stage. If you got to be in a version of The Wizard of Oz, is there any character that you would want to play?
I would want to be the Wicked Witch. I don't think she has to have an age limit. I'm too old for everything else, and I don't really want to be Auntie M. So the Wicked Witch, I would love to be her. She would be fun. It'd be fun to be a villain. What about you?
I don't know. I would rather be in The Wiz, but I'm racially challenged in that area, so that's not gonna happen. So if I had to be in The Wizard of Oz, I would I guess I could be a Glinda to your Wicked Witch and sing, come
Why not?
out wherever you are." Okay. So we are not ready to leave the land of Oz just yet. The whole month of November is dedicated to L. Frank Baum's wonderful world of Oz. We have a very special event coming up later this month, and if you're not familiar with it, you should be because
Wicked! Yes! We will be covering Wicked Part 1, and then I'm going to see the movie 2 days before it officially opens. I don't know about you, Victoria, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Part 2, and then we will cover it as well.
I can't believe I have to wait. I have to wait until it's just in theaters normally. I don't get to see it early. So you'll already be ahead of me and you'll get to sit and simmer on it. And I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy now.
I hope you're happy. We're very, very excited about covering Wicked. I have been blessed to see it twice. I saw it West End London, and I saw it also when it came touring, and can't wait to talk about the cast that we've seen. Victoria and I both we saw the touring company come through, and it's very, very exciting to get to see live. If you haven't, that's another one I recommend seeing live. Any theater, any live theater, you need to go.
Yes. So we're really excited to cover Wicked. And by the way, we could cover Wicked independent of The Wizard of Oz. It does not have to be tied to The Wizard of Oz because it actually meets the criteria for our podcast on its own, meaning it started out as a book and it has been adapted to both stage and screen. So, on its own, if you didn't know that Wicked was originally a book, you have 1 week. Go get it. Enjoy reading it. It's Wicked by Gregory Maguire, and then you can tune in and and listen to us talk about it.
Let's see, how can I say that? Read it. I'm trying to give a warning, Victoria. Read it at your own peril.
Like a
That sounds
content
so
warning?
bad.
Yeah. Content
No,
warning, if you love the musical, it's very different from the musical, and the content is very mature, so be aware that if you're trying to buy it for, like, your child or teenager, maybe read it first and make a decision later, but, yeah, very mature themes and some stuff that I can't wash out of my brain.
no. We'll get there. We will talk about that when we watch that book.
Yes, and I'm very excited. Thanks for being here with us. Please remember to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, or if you're listening to us, please remember to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Amazon Music or Spotify if that's where you're tuning in. Please find us on Instagram. We are at watching_books. And thank you so much for joining us again, and we will see you next time when we
Watch books!